There are places in the world that defy easy explanation, where the passage of time seems to hold a secret, where entire villages, once bustling with life, simply vanish. Some of these vanishing villages are hidden in remote mountain valleys. Others stand as ghostly remnants in arid deserts. But they all share a common thread: a sudden, inexplicable disappearance of the people who once called them home. The stories of these lost villages are often shrouded in mystery, their histories wrapped in legend and conjecture. While many of these villages were abandoned due to war, natural disasters, or economic hardships, there are others whose disappearances seem more puzzling. These villages, with their quiet streets and empty houses, are more than just a historical curiosity. They are windows into the fragility of human existence and the shifting tides of civilization. One such village is the subject of this exploration, a place known in local lore as the Vanishing Village. Where did the people go? What caused the mass exodus? Were there external forces at play? Or was it simply the inevitable result of human migration, economics, or climate change? This article seeks to uncover the truth behind one such village, examining the historical, sociological, and environmental factors that may have contributed to its abandonment, while considering the broader phenomenon of vanishing villages across the world. To understand the vanishing of a village, it's essential first to understand its geography and environment. The vanishing village in question lies in a remote part of Eastern Europe, nestled between rolling hills and thick forests. Once a thriving settlement, it now stands as little more than a scattering of dilapidated stone houses, some still standing, others reduced to rubble by time and neglect. The landscape surrounding the village is both beautiful and forbidding, with dense woodlands offering both natural shelter and an eerie sense of isolation. The region is rich in history, with many villages having been established centuries ago as agricultural hubs or strategic outposts during times of war. However, such regions were also frequently subject to upheaval, wars, invasions, and the shifting allegiances of neighboring kingdoms often led to the decline of small rural communities. For the people of this particular village, their story is intertwined with the forces of nature, geopolitics, and the changing economic landscape. The village was once a thriving community of farmers, artisans, and traders. Its origins are lost to history, but it likely dates back to medieval times, when small villages dotted the rural landscape, each one serving as a local economic hub. The people of the village were known for their hard work and resilience, cultivating the fertile soil of the region to produce grain, vegetables, and livestock. A small river that ran nearby provided water for irrigation, and the dense forests surrounding the village offered timber, herbs, and wild game. Trade also played a significant role in the village's economy. Situated along an ancient trade route, the village was a stopover point for merchants traveling between larger cities. Goods such as salt, cloth, and metals would pass through the village, creating a flow of commerce that benefited local artisans and shopkeepers. Over time, the village grew in size and importance, and its population swelled. A church was built at the center of the village, marking its spiritual and social heart, and the town square became a gathering place for the villagers, where festivals, markets, and social events were held. In the early 19th century, the village was at its peak, with a population of over 1,000 residents. The community was close-knit, with families living in multi-generational homes. Education and culture were highly valued, with local schools providing children with the tools they needed to carry on the village's traditions. The residents were proud of their heritage and spoke a local dialect, which was unique to the region. Despite the hardships of rural lifelong winters, short growing seasons, and the occasional harsh political climate, the people of the village were determined to make the most of their environment. The first signs of decline in the Vanishing Village came in the late 19th century. The factors that contributed to the village's gradual abandonment were varied and complex, combining elements of social, economic, and environmental change. Agricultural decline. As European agricultural practices began to evolve, small farming communities, like this one, found themselves struggling to keep up with new technologies and methods. The arrival of industrialization meant that larger, more mechanized farms in nearby cities could produce goods more efficiently. The rise of railroads also made it easier for larger agricultural regions to ship products to market, while the remote location of the village made it difficult for its farmers to compete. With fewer young people willing to take up the hard work of farming, many families began to leave the village in search of better opportunities in the cities. Political turmoil. During the 20th century, the region experienced significant political upheaval. Wars and shifting borders destabilized the area. The aftermath of the First World War, the rise of communist regimes in Eastern Europe, and the turmoil caused by the Second World War all contributed to a climate of fear and uncertainty. Villagers who had once lived peacefully in a relatively stable society found themselves caught in the crossfire of larger geopolitical forces. Many people fled the village to escape violence, repression, or the fear of occupation. Others left in search of better economic prospects in cities or other countries. Natural disasters. The village also faced natural disasters that contributed to its decline. In the early 20th century, a series of harsh winters and flooding from the nearby river devastated crops and damaged infrastructure. The growing frequency of crop failures and the increased difficulty of subsistence farming led many families to abandon their lands in favor of more fertile or less risky areas. The forest, which had once provided abundant resources, was also affected by disease and over-harvesting, further straining the village's ability to sustain itself. By the mid-20th century, the once thriving village was in rapid decline. What had begun as a slow trickle of people leaving the village became a mass exodus. The young generation, disillusioned by the lack of opportunities and the harsh realities of rural life, moved to larger towns and cities, seeking employment, education, and the possibility of a better life. Many villagers emigrated abroad, particularly to North America, where they could start anew. What was once a bustling, vibrant community was now a shadow of its former self, with only a handful of elderly residents remaining. The reasons for the mass exodus were manifold: economic hardship, political instability, and the allure of the cities combined to create a perfect storm of migration. But even as the people left, they did not forget their home. Many who had moved away sent letters back to relatives, describing their new lives and sharing news of the village's decline. These letters, preserved in family archives, became a kind of historical document, offering a glimpse into the lives of the villagers who had once called the place home. By the late 1960s, the village was completely abandoned. The once vibrant streets, where children had played and neighbors had gathered, stood silent. The houses, once full of life, were left to decay. Roofs caved in, windows shattered, and walls crumbled under the weight of time. The church, which had been the spiritual heart of the village, was left in ruin. Its bell tower, which had once tolled for weddings and funerals, now stood as a silent monument to a bygone era. What happened to the people of the vanishing village? While some moved to neighboring towns and cities, many left the country entirely, seeking new lives in distant lands. Their reasons for leaving were complex, but they were united by the hope of a better future. In some ways, the vanishing village can be seen as a microcosm of the broader patterns of migration that took place in Eastern Europe during the 20th century. Political upheaval, economic hardship, and the allure of modernity all contributed to the movement of people from rural areas to urban centers, and from east to west. The vanishing village is more than just a historical case study. It has become a part of local folklore, a place that lives on in the memories of those who were born there or have ties to the community. As with many abandoned villages, stories of ghosts and supernatural events have sprung up around the village. Locals speak of strange noises heard at night, flickering lights in the distance, and fleeting shadows seen in the windows of the old houses. These tales may be the product of superstition, or they may reflect a deeper yearning for the lost village and the people who once lived there. Some former residents who have returned to the area have reported a sense of unease, as though the village still holds memories of its past. In some ways, the village itself has become a symbol of loss, not just of people, but of time itself. The vanishing village is a reminder that the places we inhabit are never permanent. Time changes everything, and even the most vibrant communities can fade into obscurity. The story of the vanishing village is not unique. Across the world, similar tales can be found. Villages that once thrived, only to be abandoned for reasons that remain elusive or complicated. These places, whether lost to war, economics, or migration, stand as stark reminders of the impermanence of human settlements. Yet, even in their abandonment, they carry a legacy, both of the lives once lived there and of the broader forces that shaped their decline. The people of the vanishing village may have gone, but their memory lives on, through the letters they wrote, the stories they told, and the traces they left behind in the landscape. The village remains a testament to human resilience and adaptation. It may no longer be a place of daily life, but it is a place of history, memory, and mystery, a ghost village that continues to whisper its secrets to those willing to listen. In the end, the question, where did the people go, may be less about the physical absence of the inhabitants and more about the deeper, unspoken forces that shapes their departure.